Agentic Testari is a governed agentic testing system. It was developed by Baldissara-Kunnela, a QA engineer and AI developer with over 15 years of experience. Agentic Testari. Inside. Process, governance, and provability. How the agents actually work and why they can be trusted. Agentic Testari rests on 3 pillars. Process mapping brings context before execution. The agent doesn't act blind. Human in the loop forces escalation on ambiguity. No guesses. Cryptographic auditing signs every decision so afterwards we can prove who did what and when. Together, they prevent hallucinations upfront and make outcomes auditable. Standard testing tools execute scripts. Agentic Testari understands the flow first. It reads confluence specs and builds a dependency graph of the process. Heuristics prioritize the most critical paths, and logs document every reasoning step. No black box. The mapping methodology itself is covered later in this video. The user defines 4 things: what is tested, front-end, APIs, a critical path, or full regression. When agents run, event-based, scheduled, or on-demand. Where, dev, staging, or read-only production. And why, meaning which paths require human approval. All as configuration, not code changes. 6 specialized agents. Helena handles the front end, Victor the back end, Aurora accessibility, Marco mobile, Pekka performance, and Bruno watches over the others. Bruno is the special case, the governance and audit chain watcher, active even when the others are asleep. Agents aren't always on. A pull request wakes Helena and Victor. A scheduled overnight run wakes Bruno. A pre-release check fires the entire team. Aurora activates only on accessibility-relevant tickets. No wasted resources elsewhere. The probability of hallucination is near 0, thanks to 3 protective layers. First, heuristics, rule-based filters before AI inference. If invariants don't hold, the run stops before the agent has a chance to guess. Second, logs. Every reasoning step is recorded so afterwards we can inspect why a choice was made. Third, loud failure. On ambiguity, the agent escalates to a human. It does not guess. A hallucination would require all 3 layers to fail simultaneously. 5 situations where the agent must always ask a human: ambiguity, policy change, scope expansion, irreversible action, and edge case, bug or not. The agent cannot bypass a gate by accident. Every event is captured, canonicalized, signed with an ED25519 key, and chained by hash to the previous one. The same method banks and regulators use for auditing. Changing a single row breaks the entire chain. Everything meaningful. Agent decisions, gate results, human approvals, artifact creation, key rotation, errors, and retries. Verification is public. Anyone with the public key can verify chain integrity themselves. The EU AI Act is not a recommendation. It is a directive that came into force in January 2026. It requires high-risk AI systems to be traceable, transparent, and humanly overseen as mandatory conditions, not optional add-ons. Article 12, the VERITAS chain answers it. Article 13, heuristics and logs explain the reasoning. Article 14, VERITAS gates enforce oversight. Governance is not a choice. It is a market access requirement. Same Agentic Testari, different customer, different configuration. A startup uses 2 agents in 10 lines of YAML. An enterprise customer uses all 6 with full audit reporting. Scalability comes not from the number of agents, but from the same governance layer. RPA doesn't adapt to UI changes. AI without governance can't explain its decisions. Only Agentic Testari combines adaptability, transparency, and cryptographic auditing, and survives an EU AI Act audit. Agentic Testari is not an AI experiment. It is a governed testing system, auditable, configurable, ready. But a system cannot be automated if the process hasn't been described. That is why all customer engagements start with mapping. and why next we'll briefly walk through how Agentic Testari's mapping methodology works. On most teams, the testing process lives in people's heads. Only the lead knows why this path is critical. After one mapping session, the process is written, the criteria are clear, escalations are documented, and an auditor gets one file, not an empty answer. A single one-hour session produces 3 concrete deliverables. First, a structured process definition for onboarding, audits, and quality certifications. Second, a delegation matrix that says step by step what Agentic Testari takes over and where humans decide. Third, a rollout plan ready to start in your project management tool. No blank page. 3 measurable outcomes, 11 times less human attention spent on repetitive checks, 100% auditable per the EU AI Act, and 0 new tools for the team. Tasks land in your own channels. Governance isn't an afterthought. The mapping itself defines 5 situations where the agent stops and asks: ambiguity, policy change, scope expansion, irreversible action, and edge case, bug or not. 1 process, 1 session, 3 deliverables, yours to keep. Thank you for your attention. Get in touch. Let's discuss how Agentic Testari can help.